Hey guys, hope you're all doing very well. It's the 14th of Jan today. We are going to do an update video on Bitcoin and it's getting pretty exciting. We are approaching that moment of Trump's inauguration, obviously being a pro-crypto president and also due to appoint a pro-crypto head of SEC. It's all shaping up pretty nice from a fundamentals point of view for crypto on the whole. But obviously we want those technicals to line up also. So the big question is, have we found support? Have we bottomed out? Could we expect further downside? What's our invalidation point? What's our long-term target? Okay, we've addressed this in previous videos and my view is very much unchanged, but we will address the lower time frame price action in a bit more detail. We've had a bit of volatility, in particular yesterday, which we'll address also. So let's just remind ourselves the upside target. We're following essentially a very nice upward trend. This pitchfork has held the price action very, very nicely. Ultimately, we're looking for this move into approximately 200k for this year of 2025. And we are looking for an upper median line confluence with the major trend line just connecting the previous major highs. And from an Elliott wave perspective, if we go on the weekly just to zoom out and see this, the bigger picture. So I've addressed the long-term count in a lot more detail in the previous video, so I'm not going to go into as much detail in this video. If you want more detail on that, do check out the last video. But ultimately, we've got a major 5-wave count where this is the major wave 1, 2, 3, symmetrical triangle 4, and then we've got an ending diagonal 5th, which coincides with an ending diagonal that we're also seeing on the Dow Jones since March 2020. But here started a little bit later here on the Bitcoin chart. So this is the first wave of the 5-wave ending diagonal. So that's the first wave, the second wave. We're working on our third. That's what we're looking at for this upward trend this year. It's the third wave of the terminal diagonal. Then we can expect a pretty sizable pullback, only to be followed by another huge blow off top to follow. Okay, that's essentially the bigger picture. And yeah, as I say, more detail in the previous video on the higher time frame count. We are going to spend a bit more time today just addressing the lower time frame here. So this video is largely going to be following Bitcoin, but I do think there are much greater opportunities available in altcoins. I believe this is a huge opportunity in our lifetimes, the way things are coming together from a technical and fundamental point of view. And it's over on my subscription service, my group, where I cover my altcoin of greatest interest, which at present and has been for a very long time, is Dogecoin. The chart setting up absolutely phenomenally from a TA point of view. It's got incredible fundamentals behind it also, but I go into a lot of detail on that with regards to targets. I believe there's a potential 10x move available going into $3 there at present. But yeah, time will tell. We go into that on a weekly basis. If you're interested, stay tuned to the end of the video where I go into it in a bit more detail, what's involved in that and also the course, or just check out the link in the description to this video. And yeah, don't forget you can get a free trial on the monthly service, which is available via the link in the description. Okay, but without further ado, let's crack on and talk about this Bitcoin chart. So let's go in here on the daily time frame. So I mentioned previously that the Elliott wave count over the last couple of months has been very ugly indeed. And when things get that kind of ugly, don't give as much commitment or weight to the Elliott wave scenario. Okay. Ultimately, what we're getting here is a lot of consolidation. You're going to see a lot of 3 waves up, 3 waves down, 3 waves up, 3 waves down, a lot of shakeouts, a lot of liquidity runs. And there was a great example of that yesterday. So we obviously got a level here where we've just been bouncing off of it time and time again, around 91.5k. You can see the wicks here. And it was very, very likely, and I was saying to the group that there's a good chance we get a dip down, just sweeping these lows. Okay, why? Because there's a huge amount of liquidity, and liquidity is the oxygen for any market. Okay, it would be foolish, if there's a lot of smart money in this environment, which we know there is. It would be foolish for them to leave so much liquidity on the table there. It just made sense for a bit of a run to the downside before sweeping prices up swiftly back to the upside. And that seemed to be triggered by some manipulation by this guy, Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan. He's done it before and he appears to have done it again, essentially. So he mentioned that he doesn't really see much value in Bitcoin. He's not lost faith in crypto on the whole, but he sees no credibility behind Bitcoin. He thinks it's more for scammers. And the resultant price action after such a comment, because people listened to this guy, was a huge shock move to the downside. Very quick price move. But let's go on the hourly just to appreciate how price got swept back up very, very nicely. So historically, he's made negative comments about Bitcoin. And at the same time, JP Morgan then ends up buying a ton of Bitcoin. And so essentially, they're shifting the price to get in at better prices. Huge amounts of liquidity down here. And so they know they can put absolutely humongous orders down here because of all the liquidity. So it just allows for like a last-ditch attempt to get in some extra Bitcoin before shifting it in the direction that they want it to go. So is this the bottom? Very, very, very possible now, but never say never. We could get a little bit more of a sweep to the downside. I'll discuss where potentially I would allow for it to come down to before I actually got a bit scared of potential capitulation, because there are no certainties in trading. We have to entertain all the possibilities. We still don't know how the world is going to respond to Donald Trump's presidency and his tariffs. Will it all kind of scare traders off? Who knows? Will it create massive inflation? Who knows? So there's a lot of unknowns. But at present, you can tell just from the charts going on the daily time frame, the markets have reacted very favorably, especially from a crypto point of view, to the election of Donald Trump. All of this consolidation for the last year, or 2024, was built up going into the US election. They got the result, and that allowed the breakout into this kind of price range that we currently sit at. But is this the end? Is this the effect followed by, that was initially run by this cause here? Has that ran out? I don't believe so. So I mentioned it previously, looking at the RSI, looking at the monthly RSI here. So we can see Bitcoin, as we all know, it loves to make these parabolic moves up. And when it does so, it typically goes to an RSI of at least 90. Now, the first one I'm happy to ignore because there's going to be a lot of anomalous data. It's taking into considerations very early price moves. So that 98 figure there, I wouldn't read to, or 99 even, I wouldn't read too much into. But the subsequent moves have to be taken very seriously. So 97.5 here. And then 2017, we got a good 96. And then 91 in 2021. So we can expect somewhere around the 90s to get to once more. And currently we just sit at around 76. Okay, so there's a lot more of a move available to the upside. Again, I went into this in a bit more detail in the last video, but it would be a bit silly really for so much money to be left on the table before allowing the market to then capitulate. So I just see that there's certainly a lot more room to the upside here. Let's get back on our normal chart here without the RSI. So back on the daily time frame. So let's talk about this lower time frame in a bit more detail. As I say, I wouldn't rely too heavily on the Elliott wave count, but you can argue now we've had one leg down, a bit of an expanded flat, and then another leg down. So some kind of double three, a W, an X, and a Y. As I say, it's probably not worth labeling, because there's so many variable ways you could label it. Ultimately, what we're getting here is basic price movements, a sweep of liquidity, consolidation here, going into a catalyst that is Trump inauguration. So the vertical line here is the 20th of Jan, that's Trump's inauguration. The horizontal line is just the monthly open, always a very significant level. Let's go on the weekly to appreciate the upward trend. So it's this lower warning line here. This is essentially what the trend is being held by. We certainly don't want to see price come beneath that. That is a definition of a broken trend if it did come beneath that. But I've mentioned it many times, we don't want to see really price come beneath the lower median line. I don't really think it's necessary for price to dip that low, okay? So I did really want to see price held up by this lower median line. And yes, we did dip beneath it with a bit of manipulation. It was getting increasingly probable the more we hovered around this point, the likelihood that we sweep these lows. And that is exactly what happened. And it did it very quickly. Okay, so there we have it. Consolidation, which could very well have terminated around this point here. Now, the question is, could it dip a little bit further? I did think it had a potential to dip down to around 88k. If we bring on the camera pivots, that's where I can explain why I thought it was going to come down. I was thinking it could dip down to this S3 level. So this is on the daily time frame. The S3 was sitting at 88.7k. So is that still a part of my mind telling me that we could still have another dip down into this region? But based on this huge response after sweeping these lows, I have to say the probability of it dipping down again is looking very slim. Very slim indeed, especially when we're going to get all this pro-crypto bias coming in post 20th of Jan. So admittedly, yes, stock markets still need to recover. They are showing some weakness. We'll have a brief look at them in a moment. But the way things are shaping up, I have to say things are looking good for crypto here. So ultimately, we do want to see price stay above this lower median line, ideally staying above the monthly open also. So it's all looking good so far. So here we are on the daily time frame, and yeah, we almost hit the S3, kind of got front run slightly. So that's the daily. So the 4 hourly was one reason why I was thinking that there was a good possibility that we dip down here and find good support. So the way we finished this, so on the 4 hourly time frame, each period represents a week. So last week's price action, look how it went up to the R4, got hammered down, a little bit of a pause at the S3 before getting taken down here, and then it dipped quite far beneath the S4. But where did it close? I was monitoring this like a hawk to see where it would close the week. And as you can see, it managed to close above the S4. So this was a great lifeline, because if it finished beneath the S4, I would be concerned about further capitulation here on Bitcoin. The fact that it managed to cling on to this point, after it could have really finished either side of the line. As you can see, we're consolidating here. It had every right to finish either side of the line, but it made sure it finished just above. And for me, that's a good sign that we can expect good support going into our next period, which was this week. So you're looking at either S3 or S4 support. And I would say here, the S3 managed to offer that support. Yes, okay, we dipped beneath, which is absolutely fine with these camera pivots. But ultimately, the move down here was very brief. And now we're marching to the upside. We've got the R3 and R4 to contend with. There's no certainty that we're going to break out of these levels, especially when we're unlikely to get any breakout going into the Trump inauguration. I'd expect any kind of breakout to happen after that. So yeah, expect the real fireworks to happen after the inauguration, but probably a bit more of continuous sideways price action here, which is absolutely fine because this has looked pretty impulsive so far. So any subsequent corrective move is fantastic. It suggests that we're just setting up for the next big leg to the upside. So I'm very happy for this sweep to the downside, because otherwise this was looking a little bit irregular. It did look like it was dying to make that extra move down to complete a bit of a three-wave-ish move. So your first leg, your second, followed by your third. Yeah, so now it's looking a little bit more textbook and regular, and I'm very glad to see the explosive response after that dip down also, taking us above our key invalidation point, the lower median line, and also getting back above our monthly open, also a very pivotal level right there. So yeah, all setting up very nicely. As I say, this remains in validation, the lower median line, and the upward target still very much the same. There is near side resistance to the upside, which I have around 130k. I think the median line will offer a bit of resistance temporarily. I'll have to remind myself, I think it was on the monthly time frame. If we go on the monthly, it's the camera pivots on the monthly here. So we got the R4. So this year we've got an R4 resistance at around 132k. So I do expect that level to offer some resistance, and I think it's confluence with the median line where it's likely to offer that resistance right there. So that's essentially it from a Bitcoin perspective. And yeah, from a US Indices point of view, there's still a bit of work to be done, obviously, for them to show some strength once more. But it is quite interesting. Basically, we had the Trump announcement, Trump winning the election 5th of November, and then we gapped up. Yeah, so the market's loving the result of the election. And now we have just closed that gap here on the SPX. Yeah, so a very nice closure of that gap. So is that now an opportunity for us to resume the upward trend? Well, it's certainly not proven it just yet from a TA point of view. Okay, still got work to do. We want to take out at least this high to confirm kind of a reversal of trend. But it's come down in a kind of a three-wave corrective fashion so far. We've got a gap fill. We've had a good response on crypto. So US indices, it's left to them now. I don't expect a true breakout until the next catalyst, which is tomorrow's CPI result. Maybe that will allow us to start making a good swift move back to the upside. But ultimately, zooming out, looking at the bigger picture here, this is a bull trend. Okay, we certainly haven't broken the bull trend. We're making a series of higher highs, higher lows. Still, the bull trend very much intact. So this is the shorter term pitchfork, which stems from October 2022. You can see we're still above the lower median line. So price could even come down to this point here, and I'd still be happy that the bull trend is intact. I wouldn't really want to see it dip beneath the lower median line, I have to say. Although the true break of the trend would be beneath the lower warning line. As I say, I'd see it as being a little bit top heavy if it fell beneath this lower median line. But the point I'm trying to make is here, yes, we've had over the last month or so weakness, but it's come down in what can very easily be argued as a corrective move, and we have certainly not broken any bull trend as of yet. And a similar picture can be seen on the Dow Jones. So on the Dow, 5th of November, again, this candle here, big gap to the upside, that has been filled, come down a little bit lower here, and again the pitchfork, I believe this is from a similar time, yep, October 2022. Here we sat at the lower median line. So again, as you can see, it would look a little bit top heavy if we dipped too far down beneath this lower median line. So I anticipate a recovery very soon. It needs to happen pretty soon on US indices. CPI could be that catalyst, so that's what I'll be looking out for. So as I say, bull trend is intact. It could look better, but as we know, we often see massive corrections going into our catalyst, and I believe that's what's happening now as we go into that Trump inauguration, which is due in 6 days' time. And I don't believe we're going to get any true breakout until we get that. So as I say, Bitcoin setting up very, very nicely. I believe there's much greater opportunities on alts. Dogecoin in particular is my favorite of the alts. We've got our invalidation being the lower median line on Bitcoin. That is pretty much the invalidation for all altcoins as well. If we come down beneath this point, I'll be getting out of any altcoin and very happily getting back in as soon as we get back above this low median line. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. As I say, you can get more information about the course and the weekly subscription to my regular analysis on crypto and Doge. Links in the video, free trial in the link to the video. So we're going to wrap it up with that. Take care. Thank you for your attention in watching through to the end of this video. Now I know there's a lot of you watching that would like to learn how to confidently trade the financial markets independently, and I also know how confusing this can be regardless of how many stressful hours that you put in. For that reason, I've put together all of my trading knowledge in a complete course titled The Works. The Works consists of thorough and jargon-free lessons broken down into a comprehensive curriculum, providing you with a holistic understanding of the markets and giving you an accelerated journey to being able to analyze and trade the markets all by yourself. And for those of you that are looking for my weekly detailed video analysis on crypto and stocks, then there's Cryptology, which is a subscription that will also give you access to the Works while subscribed. For more information on what's included in the Works or Cryptology, you can head on over to wave618.com, or alternatively use the links in the description to this video for a limited time 50% discount offer. So I hope to see you on the other side, but in the meantime, if you would like to sample some of my educational videos, then you can check out these videos that you can see on your screen right now. Thanks once again, and until next time, take care.